In today's video, we are going to be comparing the E3 versions of our Assassin's Creed characters' outfits to their final release versions. Obviously, in the process of developing an Assassin's Creed game, issues can arise, changes can be made in the process of the marketing campaign, so even the first version of an outfit that we see can vary massively from what we get in the final game. However, E3 tends to be the biggest profile, or at least it was before E3 got cancelled. For a time, E3 was when most eyes were on Assassin's Creed. It's when we got cinematic trailers and gameplay demos, which showcased very different versions of our heroes' outfits. And that's what we're here for today. We're going to be going from AC1 to AC Syndicate, breaking down the differences between the sort of marketing version of the outfit and the final release, and I'll be saying my opinion on which version I prefer. We're not going to be going with alternate designs like the AC Victory version of Jacob, for example, or the Fearless version of Arno's outfit. We are purely going to be going off of the same outfit but with different design tweaks. We're going to be going through the subtle differences in some cases are bigger, and I'm sure you'll get the point as we get on with it. Let's begin with Altair. So the only difference I can find between the cinematic trailer version of Altair and the final release is obviously the crossbow. The crossbow was removed for not being historically accurate, insert joke here about how times have changed, but the only difference that this actually had on Altair's design in particular was the quiver. He had this little quiver over the top of his shoulder, which I actually really like. By removing the crossbow, they replaced it with the long knife that Altair has on his back, which means that in the E3 cinematic trailer, the long knife is not present at all. He doesn't have the sheath and he doesn't have the knife. Instead, it is the crossbow, and you can see how later in development they got rid of the crossbow, they got rid of the quiver on his back, they replaced it with throwing knives and the long knife, which is seemingly the alternative to the crossbow. So who knows, maybe the initial version of AC1 didn't have throwing knives at all. As for which one I prefer, I think honestly I have to go with the final release, because I'm a big fan of that long knife. It's the only time that an Assassin's Creed game has featured a long knife instead of a small dagger, and I think that some of the unique animations and moves that Altair pulls off are really cool. And yeah, you can tell it's sort of been thrown in last minute because it basically is just a weaker version of the sword, but I still really love the unique animations. The throwing knives are obviously a massive staple of the franchise, so to not have those anywhere on Altair's body just says to me that they weren't going to be in the game, and I think a world with throwing knives is much better than the crossbow. And also, the quiver just sits kind of weird on his back. I don't know, there's something about the placement of it. It just looks really heavy, and like it's not going to really stay on there for long. So yeah, definitely 1 point to the final release. Wu Chang Fallen Feathers is out now on PC, and they've partnered with today's video sponsor, Xmod, your ultimate game enhancement toolkit. And trust me, this is an offer you won't want to miss. If you've been watching this channel, you already know Xmod makes gaming better. No more endless grinding, no more banging your head against tough bosses. Whether you need unlimited ammo, god mode, or want to fly through levels unseen, Xmod's got your back with powerful one-click tools, just like old school cheat codes, but smarter and safer. Now let's talk Wu Chang. Xmod has already rolled out exclusive features, including a custom interactive in-game map overlay, a way to speed up extraction times, ongoing support and bug fixes before official patches even drop, DLSS quality boosters for smoother performance, and so much more coming soon. The best part is that Xmod is totally free. It's safe, secure, and constantly updated by a legit team of devs who care about your experience. No shady downloads, no coding required, just pick your perks, power up, and get back to the fun. Download Xmod now using my exclusive link below and level up Wu Chang Fallen Feathers or any game experience like never before. Now we're moving on to AC2, and the big difference here is something that you will have seen constantly, and you may not have even noticed that it's there, and it's the glove. In the posters, the trailers, the screenshots, even the box art for the game, Ezio has this brown glove on one hand and his assassin bracer from his father on the other. In the final release, this kind of doesn't make any sense, because in the final release it's replaced with just a brown bangle. There also seemed to have been some sort of Shoto blade kind of inspiration going on here, because in the screenshots for the game you can see that Ezio's hidden blades are two different lengths. The one around the glove is shorter, obviously because it's got less room to hide, and I wonder if maybe that was took away just to streamline things a bit and just reuse the model on both sides, because in the final release you get a sort of customizable bracer that you can buy different upgrades for, and I think that might be the reason why the glove was removed, because they added in this level of customization where you could customize the van bracers and the shoulder pauldrons and stuff like that for Ezio, and so in order to make that work the glove had to go, which is a shame. Another element that is also removed is the other shoulder piece. Now obviously we all know about the pauldron. He has a leather pauldron in the trailers, and that's also carried over in the final game, although it has a bit of a different design. It's a bit smaller unless you upgrade it. But the other shoulder also has some differences. Obviously in the final game it has this sort of red cut sort of fabric to it, which looks really nice. However, on some of the posters and in some of the screenshots you can see metal, like a silver metal pauldron, which is kind of present in the metal armor that you can get later in the game. However, in some versions it's there from the start. I don't really prefer that version, to be honest. I kind of prefer when the assassin outfits have like as little armor as possible. So personally I'm a big fan of like the default version that we got, but with the glove. I think that glove especially helps because later in the game you learn the climb leap mechanic, where the glove is kind of like essential for using it during traversal. It's a good indication of like using this special move, and they kind of added it back in Brotherhood, because in Brotherhood you can get this metal glove which does the same thing as this one, but to not have that glove in AC2 is something that honestly never even crossed my mind until like years after the game released. But yeah, in this case we're gonna go with the E3 version. Now moving on to Brotherhood, this is probably the most well known in terms of changes from the trailer and the E3 demo to the final release, and what really annoys me about this one is, again, we have in-game screenshots of how Ezio was meant to look, which means at some point during development these assets existed in the game. They weren't just in the cinematic trailer. Obviously a cinematic trailer is just going up purely off CGI. It's not anything based on in-game resources or assets. And the differences here are, I think, quite well documented. It's of course the matching double blades. So the hidden blades in Brotherhood, all over the marketing, you've got him doing this like Wolverine pose.
Right, that's Wolverine. That's very funny.
But for some reason the bracers are different in the actual game. He only starts off with one hidden blade for story reasons. When you do get a second hidden blade, it's using an entirely different design, which lends itself to the AC2 like customization, where you can upgrade that second bracer. But it's never the bracer that you see in the trailers. It's never the original bracer on his left side. It's always some weird... I honestly not a big fan of the upgraded armor versions, but when you do get to the final set of armor, you do get the pauldron that Ezio has in the cinematic trailer. Not exactly, but it's close enough. Now I should absolutely mention that there are mods that put this back in the game. They make the costume look like the E3 version with the double hidden blades and the brand spanking new silver pauldron to make it look exactly how it did in the trailers, and it looks amazing. In my opinion, the double hidden blades having that Wolverine pose is like an iconic part of Brotherhood's marketing, and so the fact that it's not in the final game is heresy. So without question, I mean, why did they even give him a leather shoulder piece in Brotherhood? I don't know. It felt like they'd reverted a lot back on like how cool the initial design looked. So For me, I've got to go again with the E3 version. Now, getting into Revelations here, the differences are a lot more subtle. You're probably not going to notice at first any differences, which is strange because for the first time ever, I'd never seen this before, I watched the 2011 demo for AC Revelations, and as soon as I saw his outfit, I went, whoa, this is totally different. There's different straps, there's extra bits of fabric, the red sash around his waist looks so much bigger than in the final release. And then I went and looked at the final release and no, it looks like exactly the same. I think it's maybe because the E3 demo looks very different visually. Like, Ezio's face looks totally different, the lighting is a bit off, the graphics have obviously been like, sort of, I don't know, boosted just for the demo because like everything's got a bit of a softer side to it. I think the final game has a much harsher contrast on all of the characters and the fabrics, so when you see it in the E3 demo, it sort of looks softer and a bit more hazy and a bit more resembling like the older games before they sort of, I don't know, turned up the contrast like massively, which probably made the outfit look a bit different, but for the most part, aside from like some fur texture on the side here, it is pretty much the same outfit. However, some of the patterns, I will say, like the assassin logo on his chest and some of like the silver lining, is a lot more pronounced in the E3 version. It's a lot easier to see, very silver. It's almost looking more like the version we got in Mirage later down the line. But honestly, because I can't really tell the difference between the two, I will just go with the final release because the final release outfit just looks really good. It's definitely polished, refined. The only thing that I wish was an option was the cape that he had in the E3 trailer, because the cinematic trailer starts with him wearing this cape that he takes off, and it's nowhere in the final game. There is a version of Ezio with a cape in the final game, but it's the Cappadocia outfit, which is a totally different suit. I kind of wish we could have seen that. Maybe somebody could mod that in. There might be a mod already. I haven't seen a mod that puts back in the cape from the cinematic trailer. But yeah, in this case, they're pretty much the same. And the same goes for AC3. In Connor's case, I could not find a single difference between the E3 demo and the final release. Obviously, I've done my videos. I've said my piece about the early concept outfits, the alpha design. Connor went through a lot of changes to get to final release, but in terms of the E3 demo, it is pretty much exactly what we got. But the E3 cinematic trailer does have one noticeable difference that I saw, and it was the shape of the hood. In the main game, Connor's hood is a very thick piece of leather that's kind of like stuck to his face. It's very like rigid. In the E3 trailer, obviously it's CGI, so the cloth can like move a bit more and he needs to like, it's a bit more dynamic. So in the E3 trailer, he kind of has more of like an Ezio Brotherhood style of hood, where it kind of like goes outwards towards his neck, like that. So that's the only difference I could spot. For the most part, it looks like once they'd settled on Connor's design, they stuck with it. One design that went through, oh my goodness me. Edward's design, it looks like from the E3 demo, it is exactly the same as the final release. That's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the posters and the cinematic trailer, because it's a different suit. It's a different suit. Maybe not visually, right? The actual silhouette is the same. But the colours, the textures, and the shape of the hood are totally different. In the final game, Edward's robes have like a dark blue colour to them, whereas in the cinematic trailer, it's a light blue. And I don't know if they changed it so that you would have like, I don't know, more contrast with the ocean. That sounds like stupid to me, but maybe when Edward had lighter coloured robes, he was kind of just blending in with his surroundings, which, I don't know, assassin. Also, like, the leather textures are a bit different, but, it's a difference between CGI and gameplay, so I'm not too miffed that, like, the colour of the brown is different. But the hood is unforgivable, because the E3 version of the hood looks so cool. It's like this big, baggy hood over the top that's, like, covering half of his face. And it's a different design from what we'd had prior. It doesn't have a beak on it, because he is not a traditional assassin. And that kind of got it across really well, whereas in the final game, it looks like he's just wearing like a hood that hasn't been pulled over his head properly. I'm wearing a hoodie right now. I can show you what I mean. In the final game, it kind of just looks like this, like it's not covering his head properly. Whereas the E3 version is like, it's like this, you know what I mean? It's like fully covering his head, and it's like that. You can barely see his eyes. I was over the moon to hear that somebody had modded this into the game, and I am going to install this mod right now, because there is a version of Edward's outfit that somebody modded into the game that looks pristine. It looks exactly like the E3 version, minus like, obviously, in the final game, his coattails are very thick and heavy. They don't move around a lot, whereas in the E3 trailer, they're a very light fabric that like move a lot more like Altair's, which I would have liked, but obviously that is asking a lot for a modder to do. Maybe in the remake, we're going to get something that looks closer to how he looked in the promotional material, because I massively prefer how Edward looked in the marketing compared to how he looked in the final release. It's not part of the outfit, but I would like to mention as well that Edward's like entire face looks different. Obviously, Assassin's Creed 4's cinematic trailer is the first time we saw an assassin with their hood down, so it's like the first time we're seeing a full face. Obviously, like, you can tell from AC3's trailer that the face looks nothing like Connor, but they put such a big emphasis on Edward's face in the E3 cinematic trailer, and it looks like nothing like how he looks in the final release, and especially the hair. This is what I wanted to mention in particular. He has like some sort of blowout in the E3 trailer. He kind of looks like he's got curtains, but it's like billowing out at the back. Whereas in the final release, he has like a man bun at the back, and then the hair kind of just ties around. So it does look very different. I mean, I could put these two characters side by side, and you could probably believe that they are two different people. And again, I wonder if the remake's going to try and make Edward look more like how he did in the trailers. Or maybe he's going to look more like Matt Ryan if they go for like a mocapped performance, like redoing the mocap. I don't know, interesting. But yeah, Edward's is probably the most drastic in my opinion out of all of these, and it's the one that I want to see the original version the most. So point absolutely goes to the original. Now, because Rogue had such a short development time, there wasn't really much room for like making changes or differences between Shay's initial appearance in the sort of reveal trailer and the final release, but I did manage to find 3. The obvious one being the hood. In all of the promotional material for Rogue, Shay has a hood, and I think the intention of that was to resemble Assassin's Creed, which obviously it does very well, because the hood is pretty much just carbon copied from Edward, but black, and in the final release it's not there. There are mods that add it back in, but personally, I don't like the hood being there because you're not playing as an assassin, and you can tell, Shay's got like 4 different collars, which clearly is meant to sort of emphasize that part of his outfit more than a hood. If a hood was over the top of 4 different collars, it would just look too busy. So I can see what they were going for there, and obviously when you're in these incognito areas, he lifts his collar up instead of putting his hood up. It's there for a reason, it's intentional, and I like how it's implemented in the final game. The other 2 changes, I mean, these are so minor, but what's the word? In some of the pre-render images, Shay has like this yellow lining around the top half of his outfit, and I think it's purely there just for like a little bit of extra detailing. In the final release as well, it is there, like all of that stitching and that lining, it's all there, but it's not yellow, it's just like a grey colour, so you can't really see it too much. So, I don't know, I would say if you have no time in your life at all, if you want to kill some time and you're good at modding, do a mod that adds the yellow lining back in. I don't know, that's literally all I've got. The other difference, which is probably like the most major outside of that, is his cross is a different colour. Yeah, in the initial trailer and the reveal trailer, it's a red cross to very, concretely emphasise this guy is a Templar, whereas in the final release, it's just greyed out, it's just a silver cross, and yeah, why isn't it red? He's a Templar, he should be proud of it. I mean, well, maybe not if there's any assassins looking for him, but yeah, I think that I would rather go with the red cross, because in the final game, you kind of can't see it. So moving on to Arno, this is purely a case of the wrong colours being used. Now obviously in the initial reveal trailer for Unity, we saw Arno in his Fearless costume, which I did review separately in my video ranking all of Unity's outfits, so I do advise you go over to that video and watch that there, because I don't really want to retread too much regarding that. But what I do want to talk about is the fact that for the entire promotional campaign after that, they chose to use Arno's tailored outfit, which is not the first outfit you get in the game for Arno. It's a one that you have to, like, complete a co-op mission reward for. You have to get a piece of it through the main story, and it's a bit of a hodgepodge to actually amalgamate, but it's a drastically different colour from what you get in the final release. This is a problem that I kind of have with a lot of Unity's colour options. Like, obviously in Unity you can customise your assassin with dozens of different colour options and combinations, but they're all very saturated. There's not many that go for like a gritty, realistic look outside of like the colour black. So, you know, there's like an all black one, but what I really like about the E3 and sort of the promotional version of Arno is it's using a very dark blue, a very navy sort of blue. And you've got like this almost like reddish like leather colours that contrast with it and add to like his design. You know, he literally looks like a walking French flag. In the final game they give him this blue colour that's just aggressively saturated, and I really don't like the look of it. And also the red looks very desaturated, it looks very washed out and almost like pink at times. But let me tell you, there is an absolutely phenomenal mod that recolours the tailored outfit to look exactly like it did in the promotional material, and just putting these side by side, you can tell which one is superior, which one would have looked so much better in the game. It adds the decoloration to his waistcoat as well. It's not even a question for me. The original marketing version of Arno looks infinitely better than like the Fortnite version we got in the final release. Because aside from that, everything else here looks exactly the same as it does in the marketing. It is literally just the colours. Now for our last comparison, we have Jacob Fry from Syndicate. Now, this is sort of ending the video on a bit of a meh, because there's not really any difference here. His E3 trailer, the demos, the promotional material look exactly how he does in the final game. The only difference, the only little thing I could find, is that in the trailer he takes his hat off and you see that he has like curtains instead of the slicked back hair that we see in the main game. That's it. That's the only difference. That's the only thing I could find. And as for Evie, well, she's not in the marketing, so there's no comparison that can be made there. And from this point, like, Origins, Bayek's outfit looked exactly the same, Odyssey, the outfits looked the same, Valhalla looked the same. It seems like they've stopped making these kinds of slip-ups. Obviously, the reason they may have done this is because of the whole Watch Dogs controversy, where the first game had this amazing E3 demo where it looked like a PS5 game, and then it came out and it looked like a PS2 game. So they sort of have had to like be a bit more honest and open about how their games are going to look, and it's especially apparent that like since 2017 onwards, the sort of E3 outfits, I mean there isn't even an E3 anymore, but like the initial outfits look pretty much identical to what you get by the final release. And I suppose that's a good thing, although part of me does like to, like, obviously analyse the differences and see bits and pieces that they've changed or missed. But do let me know down below if there's anything I've missed, or if you'd like to see me go through other outfits. Don't worry, I'm very aware that I did not mention the victory robes for Jacob. That's because, like I said, that's going to be a separate video. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe down below, and I will see you. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button down below, subscribe for more Assassin's Creed content, and I will see you in the next video.